Kicking back on this summer breeze. Welcome to Double K's Classroom. Class is officially in session.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Good evening, y'all, and welcome to this week's edition of Double K's Classroom. I am your host, Double K. Now I'm here to talk to you about some of the hottest topics in sports. Everything from the Rockets trading Russell Westbrook yesterday to KD leaving for the Nets, so on and so forth. I've kind of touched on some of those, haven't really touched on NBA free agency as a whole, but I will during today's lesson of the day. But the subject matter for today's show is training camp. Yep, that's right, guys. We're about what? Training camps have already officially started for a few teams, and we are, 3-4 weeks away, a month away, 30 days away, 60 days away, 35 days away, somewhere like that from the start of preseason, and we are like 60 days away from the NFL, or at least 6-7 weeks away from the NFL season starting. So football is back in the air. So I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys a little bit about the San Francisco 49ers and what they have upcoming this season. They weren't really that noisy in free agency, only really making one big free agent splash, bringing in Tevin Coleman, and then also bringing in Jordan Matthews at wide receiver. They brought in Jason Verrett, but he's an unknown factor because of the fact that he was coming off a injury in which he only played 6 games or 11 games last season. So he didn't play the full season, and he's been healing ever since. So Jason Verrett is going to be one of those unknown factors. But let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Well, first, let's take a look at last year. Last year, the Niners had a very underwhelming season compared to how everybody had them going into the season. They were Super Bowl dark horses. They were playoff likely a team. And then week 3 happened, and Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, and everything changes. They finished the season 4-12. Their leading passer was a player that started the season on the practice squad, QB Nick Mullins. He finished with 2,227 yards. Matt Breida was the leading rusher because Jerick McKinnon never saw day one as he got hurt in training camp last year, tore his ACL, and was out the whole season. So Breida started. finished with 814 yards after being banged up throughout most of the season himself. George Kittle set a new record for yards in the season by a tight end with 1,377 yards. He broke it literally the week after Travis Kelce broke, I believe it was Rob Gronkowski's record for most receiving yards by a tight end. So it was that record was actually broken twice in the same season, but it landed in Kittle's hands and will stay there for a while unless Kittle or Kelce breaks the record again, and they're both in high-powered offenses, so who knows. The team was led on the team averaged 21 points per game, and the offense scored a total of 35 touchdowns as a whole. They averaged 241 yards a game passing and 118 on the ground. Stats that would have you saying, wow, dude, that team was pretty good. But unfortunately, the defense wasn't all that it could be, and we'll touch on that after the break. And the team ended up going 4-12, losing more games than it won. Offensive camp battles going into this season will be at running back, where we have Tevin Coleman, who just came in, Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, and also Jeff Wilson Jr. So they have 5 backs in this group of management only really likes to keep, or this coaching staff really only likes to keep 3. So I probably assume that Jeff Wilson Jr., if he doesn't end up getting snatched up off the practice squad, will probably spend most of the season on the practice squad. They also have wide receiver, which is another iffy position. They have Dante Pettis, who's emerging after having a sort of good season last year and becoming a much better athlete this season. You have Marquise Goodwin, who just won the fastest man in the NFL contest, and is a great deep threat wide receiver. But then behind them, you have you have Trent Taylor, you have Jordan Matthews. You have Jalen Hurts, Deebo Samuel, Richie James Jr., all who are viable to be able to try to work their way into the lineup. And you have a position coach like Wes Welker training them all. So, man, I tell you, this receiving corps should get a lot better. Jimmy Garoppolo has already reported in the little work that he's done with Dante Pettis that he sees a marked improvement with the kid and that he expects him to do better. I expect this offense to do better as a whole because hopefully the 49ers, I've been running this joke all summer long, have sent Jimmy Garoppolo to baseball camp so he can learn how to slide instead of running into a defender and risking injury. Because like that play there where he hurt himself, he had the first down already. He was just going for extra yardage and ended up getting hit and tore his knee up. So, but I do expect Jimmy to come back, play well, and be what we've expected him to be for a very, very long time, which is the guy that puts the 49ers back on the map. I don't agree with an article that I read on NBC Sports that stated that the 49ers should move on from Jimmy if he doesn't have a good season this year. Nah, the man's coming back off a torn Achilles now. If he gets hurt the same way he did again last year doing something stupid, then it might be time to move on from him because he just takes too many risks. And shouldn't be handed the ball like that to be able to take those risks with. But other than that, I think Jimmy is the lock. He is the guy for the 49ers. I expect the offense to make a huge turnaround and play well this season. That starting offensive line, let's take a look at the people that are projected starters. And that is Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting QB. Tevin Coleman is projected to be the starting running back. Right now, George Kittle at tight end, Pettis and Goodwin at the 2 wide receiver spots. Joe Staley, the stalwart at left tackle, along with Laken Tomlinson at left guard, Richburg at center, Pearson at right guard, and McGlinchey at right tackle. That should be a strong and solid offensive line. I believe that they'll understand that they're beginning, most of them are in year 2 of dealing with Kyle Shanahan's zone running scheme. So I expect most of them to be able and willing to make the adjustments to make themselves even better. And we finish off with starting fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who was huge last year and should be huge again this year. This is a team with a lot of expectations again going into this year. Can they or will they live up to them? That's up to them. Kyle Shanahan is a genius when it comes to mapping out offensive schemes. So I would expect that the 49ers should be looking forward to something good, looking forward to him being able to help them work around any issues or deficiencies that they may have with talent. So other than that, y'all, that's about all I got to say about the offensive end. I like the 49ers. I like Pettis to have a breakout year. I like Kittle to continue exactly what he's been doing. And then I like Tevin Coleman to step up and work with, just like he did with Dante Freeman, work with Jerick McKinnon as the primary back and McKinnon as the off back to be able to make this situation work and have us have one of the most explosive backfields with Bredia, McKinnon, and Coleman in the NFL. So we'll see how that boils down. Wide receiving core still has a lot to prove. Running back core could be fantastic. Quarterback could be fantastic. Offensive line should be one of the best in the league. So that's it for right now. We're going to take that first commercial break. We'll listen to a couple of podcast promos from the podcast and Ghost of the Stratosphere. And then we'll come back with my lesson of the day where I talk about NBA free agency and the wow that it has been this season. Thank you for listening to Double K's Classroom right here on the Voices Presents Radio Network, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and CastBox. Peace.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the Ghosts of the Stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
All right, and I'm back. So that was the Ghost of the Stratosphere and Dub Podcast. Be sure to check them out on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher and other places where you can find your lovely podcast.
Tune in, folks. It's now time for Double K's Lesson of the Day.
All right, now it's time for my lesson of the day. All right, so lesson of the day revolves around NBA free agency. I'm going to say this once and say this loud, okay? So maybe the people that listen can hear. I don't give a fuck about people teaming up. I really could give a fuck. Like I didn't. Now, yes, if LeBron James came from the Lakers and Kawhi Leonard came from the Clippers and Anthony Davis came from the Pelicans and so on and so forth, and they all found some random team like Oklahoma City to go team up on, then I might have an issue with it. Because like I said, that's weakening 5-6 teams in the league. I don't have an issue with people teaming up, unless it's something like that. Like I had an issue with the Miami Heat, not because they teamed up, but just because it was just like it wasn't necessary. Like LeBron could have went there with just Dwayne Wade and they would have been fine. He didn't have to bring anybody else. And they would have won a chip or two. But instead he had to go weaken another team and bring somebody else with him. So, with that being said, it doesn't surprise me that all these cats are now starting to team up. Kawhi Leonard teamed himself up with Paul George. Anthony Davis teamed himself up with LeBron, or vice versa. Russell Westbrook just recently traded to to the Rockets, teaming himself up with James Harden. Like, dynamic duos, I have zero issue with. You know, I grew up with a dynamic duo in Jordan and Pippen, so I have zero issue with dynamic duos. But there's a lot of people out there that do. I think that this year's league has more parity to it, has definitely more unanswered questions. Are the Warriors going to be able to keep it rolling and have a solid run in the playoffs, maybe even get to a 6th NBA Finals, which I doubt? Are the Clippers and the Lakers going to be able to live up to the lofty expectations that come with building the roster that they've built? The past 2 LeBron James teams have kind of fell apart when he put them together. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George may both be from LA, but they've never played alongside each other. So who knows how that's going to work out? Will these teams be top tier, or will they not? Shit, the Warriors got KD and didn't win in the second season that they had him, didn't win the number 1 seed. The Rockets got it. Didn't even win 60 games. So with that being said, I just want to say that, like, I love it. I love where the league's at right now. Like, I have zero issues with it. Let's see what Russell Westbrook and James Harden can do together. They had success before and even reached the finals. Let's see what KD and Kyrie can do together, even though we're a year off from that experiment kicking off. And as a Warriors fan, thank you, KD. Love what you gave us. Appreciate it, and wish you nothing but luck in Brooklyn. What I'll say, the Lakers. Let's see if LeBron actually can do it with all the help. Now that he has all the help that he claimed he needed, let's see if LeBron can actually do it. Or will Kawhi and them shut that idea down and prove that the Clippers are the team in LA, whether LeBron's in the Lakers shot or not? Who knows? Who knows? All I know is if you ain't looking forward to it, then you got something wrong with you, because I know I am. That's it for today's lesson of the day. We'll listen to a couple more podcast promos, and then I will come back to finish out the bit with a little talk about the 49ers defense, and then lining you up for what we're looking forward to next Friday for K-Double's 5th period music class. Thank you for listening. Oh, and I also have a quick announcement when we come back about a new podcast coming to the network next week. All right? Thank you guys for listening. This is Double K. I'm out.
Tune in, folks. It's now time for Double K's Lesson of the Day.
Hey guys, this is Venice, and I've got a message from a friend of mine about my favorite podcast.
It's your boy, Flavor Flav in full effect. Check this out, everybody. I want y'all to go check out TJ.
What's good, everybody? TJ Johnson here for Voice from the Underground. I am the most handsome.
Big Has.
And I'm smoking my cigar, of course.
You know what I'm saying? The Dutch.
You pick me up in an Uber and a PT Cruiser, I'm calling Lyft.
Cause they be fighting the power, talking about social issues, politics, you know what I'm saying?
And we're not even that good.
Right, we're terrible. Terrible. Tangents all over the place.
And not only that, but they be keeping it fun with the sports, music, comics, and movies too.
Am I allowed to talk?
I think no, not right now.
Shut up, colonizer!
You know what I'm saying? He on Twitter at VFU Podcast. So you can find them. So check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav. Yeah, boy.
Okay, what Flav was trying to say is, check out Voice from the Underground on your favorite podcast network.
Voice from the Underground.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig. Now simulating the amazing nerd show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, you're safe here and everything, but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?
Horror.
It starts off like any other like home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
All right. And like I said there, we just heard from Flavor Flav and Venice for Voices from the Underground, or Voice from the Underground, and the boys over there at Amazing Nerd Show. So I hope... Sorry, guys, had to give me a drink real quick. I hope you guys take a listen into those podcasts at some point. Those young gentlemen support me, so I hope you go out and support them. Okay, so now back to the 49ers. The defense was one of the biggest issues that they had last year, and their defensive line was part of that issue. I believe they came in almost league worst in sacks. The highest person on their team was DeForest Buckner with 12 sacks, but they needed to add a little bit more to the D line, and they went out and did that this offseason. They went out and added Nick Bosa through the NFL draft with the number 2 pick, and they went out and added D Ford, a guy that had 13 sacks and forced 7 turnovers by himself last year for the Chiefs. So I expect both of those guys, both fast, and very, very energetic, to make an impact upon the team immediately. And it should also help out our cornerbacks, who were some of the worst in the league, being that they only had 1 pick all season long, or I believe it was like 1 or 2 picks all season long, a league worst. It should help them, because with guys getting in the quarterback's face, of course, quarterbacks are more likely to make bad throws, which will allow guys like Jason Verrett and Richard Sherman, who have great football IQ and can know how to read a field, allow them to be able to handle their business and get some picks. The safety position is still kind of up in the air. Jaquiski Tart went out. Jimmy Ward is, I believe, playing the other safety position. And so Tart went out with a collarbone injury, so they moved Tavarius Moore over there. They have Colbert left, but there's still, like I said, Eric Berry is still out there. They're Trey Boston is still out there. There's still several free agents that they could go after that would allow them to fill in that safety spot for the time being, and then have a deep safety roster once Ward gets back. Or not Ward, but Tart gets back. But alas, I don't think the 49ers are going to end up doing that. But that leaves us with a couple of training camp battles. You got free safety, where, like I said, Jimmy Ward is expected to be the maybe the potential starter, and then you got Colbert and Tavarius Moore as well. And then at cornerback, or on D line, you have Buckner, Ford, Armstead, Bosa, and what is it? It's Armstead. It's Arik Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, all biding for time. And I think they'll all get fair enough snaps on that D-line, along with guys like Ron Blair III and guys like that. But the 49ers should stick with a primary rotation of those 5, but all 5 of those will be fighting in training camp to see who's going to start. The other one would be cornerback, which at this point is expected to be manned by Richard Sherman and Ahkello Witherspoon. But you have Jason Verrett, Tavarius Moore, and I forgot who the other dude is. But you have other people who are there that have played in this system for a year and that can try to compete with those guys. The only person that's a pure lock for their starting position would be Richard Sherman, of course. But other than that, everything else is up in the air, and all depends on how these kids perform. I expect that either Witherspoon or Verrett, who's said to be good to go after the injury, are going to be the ones that are going to end up being starters, and with maybe Verrett playing the slot. But at this point, the projected starters are Colbert at strong safety, Colbert at free safety, Tart at strong safety, Richard Sherman at the first cornerback position, Witherspoon at the second, Malcolm Smith at the will linebacker position, Quan Alexander, who they went and picked up, was a big hit pickup this summer for the 49ers, at the Mike position, and Fred Warner at the Sam position. You also got D Ford at right end, Buckner is penciled in at the first defensive tackle, Armstead at the second, and Nick Bosa at the third, leaving Solomon Thomas kind of hanging out to dry there. It'll leave Thomas and Thomas and Armstead No, Armstead will be starting. So just Solomon Thomas kind of sitting out. And due to his lackluster performance last year and his rookie year, we'll see if he's even with the team, depending on how well these other guys perform. But overall, I expect the 49ers to win anywhere between 8 to 10 games, be a sneaker pick for the playoffs, and definitely a dark horse for the Super Bowl, depending on if they can stay healthy. Overall, it's a great team, but we'll see exactly how great they can be. So now on to the announcements. Just first and foremost, we got a new show coming up called The Cheap Pop Podcast right here on the 4 Aces Presents Radio Network. You can find us. It will be a pop culture podcast about pro wrestling, pop culture, movies, comic books, combat sports, etc. So be sure to tune in. That'll be next Sunday at 5 p.m. It's a pre-recorded show, so you can just download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or right here off of Spreaker. So, yeah, be sure to listen in. It'll be myself, KKK, and John. We haven't come up with his name yet, but you'll see the logo pretty soon. Every Sunday at 5. All right. So be sure to listen into that. Other than that, be sure to listen in to Mr. Deacon podcast this Saturday, as well as Lip Gloss and Mike's Inspiration Radio on Sundays, along with Brick House. And happy birthday to the Saint. This weekend is his birthday, so he won't be doing an hours then this week, but he'll be back in the next coming weeks with more great episodes of MVT Tuesday Now versus Then. We also got Dirty Talk 101 on Monday night, Tuesday morning, Kings and Queens of Porn, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then back to K-Double's fifth period music class next Friday, where I'll be doing the best solo, letting you choose between the best solo acts from boy bands, everything from Belle Biv DeVoe to Joey McIntyre to Justin Timberlake, etc. And you'll decide who you want to hear next week. The poll should be up by Saturday evening, and y'all get all week to vote. So be sure to come to the Double KK Double fan page and check that out and put in your vote. And other than that, y'all have a great night. It's been great talking to you. Till next week. Oh, in 2 weeks, I'll be back doing another training camp episode about the Oakland Raiders. So y'all have a great night. Peace.